What is good, YouTube, man? Today I'm back with another big reaction video. We are reacting to 5 most disturbing Reddit threads. This is about to get creepy. Before we start this shit, make sure you guys roll up, screw in the pens, maybe grab some food, some popcorn, and let's get started. Let's start this shit, man.
Needs $700,000.
Damn, for what, bro?
On November 6, 2015, a Reddit user named Bangarang made a deeply concerning and odd post on the site reading, "Need $700,000. What do? I need it by January 2016 or I'm dead from the mob. What are my options though?"
Your options are probably either... Here, I'll give you 2. Run the fuck away, or you might as well hang, buddy. No, but, seriously, how the fuck do you lose $700,000, bro? He must have been putting in WNBA. Fuck, bro. I don't think I said that shit right. WNBA. Yeah, he must have been putting WNBA overs, buddy. Because what the fuck were you doing? What were you parlaying? LeBron James under? What the fuck was he doing? I need to know what made him fucking lose 700
Now, if this was posted in subreddits like r/advice or r/helpme, people would have taken it more seriously. However, for whatever reason, Bangarang decided to post this plea for help in r/sadboys. This is a subreddit for the fans of the Sad Boys music collective that emerged in the early 2010s, primarily associated with Swedish rapper Young Lean.
Oh shit, I know Young Lean!
So, a completely unrelated
that's
post
Big
like
Young
this
Lean!
left most people confused about what it meant. Not sure if this is real. So confused.
Damn.
What is this?
Some
users wondered if this was some obscure reference to Sad Boys music. Is this a reference to Lean being worth $700,000? However, most users quickly realized that Bangarang was serious when he began responding to some of the less serious joke comments with sincere replies. "Let me ghostwrite your next mixtape. I need all the help I can get." But that's when the post took a disturbing turn. One user jokingly told the OP to end it by jumping off a bridge and shoot himself while falling.
Relax, bro.
However, instead of getting offended, Bangarang replied with something that made everything way more unsettling. "Think they'll get to me before I can make any moves." Alongside this, he posted a link to an eerie photo, a group of men standing in the middle of a street with multiple cars lined up behind them. The way the photo was framed suggested that OP took it while hiding in the bushes, as if he was watching from a distance, afraid to be seen.
Those parlays were
At this point, people wanted answers. And after some back and forth in another thread, Bangarang finally explained what had gotten him into this situation. "Was involved in a fight where an 18-year-old kid was killed. I was on drugs and had a bad temper."
Damn, wait. So it was even worse, bro. Motherfucker was even putting parlays in. How do you go 700? How do you go down 700 grand on drugs? Oh hell no.
I was always protective of my friends, especially John. John was in a band and was taking off. He had a Facebook page, so he deactivated it. He made a new one. One of his friends that made a new one got real mad that he deleted the old page and thought he didn't want anything to do with her or his old friends because of the new fame and band. John tried to explain to her that wasn't the case. When he tried to, I peered over John's shoulder, read their texts, and got heated. I started trash-talking the girl. She got her boyfriend's friends to meet me and my friends out in the desert for a brawl. One of the guys there was with the gang members' guys group and pulled out a gun to shoot me and my friends. One of my friends grabbed the gun from him and ended up shooting the guy and killing him, the dude that pulled out the gun in the first place. Then, after the fight, I violated my probation. The cops were already after me for drug use. They found out I was involved in the fight and the shooting of the guy, and they added the battery charge. I wasn't charged with murder, but was involved in the fight, which is why they added assault and battery charges, plus the probation violation.
Damn.
But I continued with drug use and violated my probation by leaving the state. Now I'm sobered up. I just turned 23, and I'm in a real bad place with some people from the past.
How the fuck do you lose 700 grand?
We're celebrating Black Friday at Faulkner Subaru. And
while these responses provided some important context for OP's situation, it still didn't explain why the mob was after him now or how having $700,000 would help him stay alive. By this point, people had stopped joking. It was clear that this was most likely real. One user finally spoke up.
What is that in the picture, though? That could just be people standing around smoking cigarettes and shit, smoking some cigars, bro. You never really know. There's no guns. You can't even see if that's even really people, bro. It could be some animal. Okay, nah, that's clearly a person right there. But, bro, that's a car, yeah. But, bro, you don't know what they're doing. They're just standing there chilling, you feel me? And maybe they got a car accident. They're looking at the car. Ooh, that was a good one.
People had stopped joking. It was clear that this was most likely real. One user finally spoke up, saying what everyone else was thinking. First of all, why are you posting this here?
True.
Second, run, get out of town. To which LP replied, I got no one. After learning about his sheer helplessness, user PizzaMan2345 chimed in with some detailed and practical advice to help Bangarang escape with his life. Get yourself into jail and tell them to safely escort you to an airport afterwards. Wow. If you warn them about the mob and spread the word, the police will look stupid if you die soon afterwards. Then, if you do get to the airport, take several planes to several places and settle down somewhere far away. No matter how uncaring a police department is, they should listen to your plea for help. It might also help if you have a writer friend who can tell the whole story if they don't escort you. Let the police know as a last resort that they will be flamed online for not dealing with the mob themselves and for letting you loose, only for you to die right after. This of course involves you being in jail for a while.
Bro, was the mob really crazy 9 years ago? How long was 9 years ago? 2025. I don't know.
Which, if not the case, leads me to say that you should simply leave the country now. Use your head. Don't drug your problems away. Either work hard and loan the rest or just run. Unfortunately, we'll never know if this advice helped him or not. A day after making the original post, Bangarang stopped replying to any more comments and hasn't posted anything on Reddit since. As for if the story was legit or not, we have no way of knowing for sure. The Bangarang account was likely a throwaway since it was created the same day as the post. I also tried reverse image searching the picture he posted, and while there are many similar looking images online, I couldn't find anything that matches the OP picture to a T and predated the Reddit thread. And since Bangarang didn't provide any clues about his location...
Do they still go active right now, bro? You think the mob is active as we're speaking? As I'm saying this, you think the mob is probably fucking some bull up right now? Doing something? The world may never know. You think the mob is still in, like, the United States and shit? I know there's mobs in different countries that are still definitely around, 100%. But you think it's still active and, like, motherfuckers really be making bread in the United States as being mobsters? Like, I know I just seen everyone just got booked for the gambling. But, bro, who the fuck were those nobodies, bro? I never heard none of them. Who the fuck was Lil Jon in them, bro? Or, like, what, Lil Joe? Who the fuck were they? No one never knew them. Like, come on, yo. They were not really mobbers, bro.
News articles
they were wannabe mobbers, you feel me?
Most users under the original thread believe the OP was likely caught and killed by the mob.
But no,
however, it's been over 9 years since the original.
I think they're all over the sports and shit. That's probably the only thing they're doing is probably over. They're probably all over the sports. And they probably still got a little construction and shit. Probably big cities. But bro, you think about it, they're probably all over the sports, bro. Well, you just saw that shit with fucking Terry Rozier and shit. But bro, I'm telling you, bro. There's going to be more shit coming up soon of more people. More people. Bro, I could probably name four motherfuckers throughout the NFL, NBA, MLB that are all going to get booked. Shohei Ohtani, bro, he's going to get booked 100%, bro. Tua CTE, Miami Dolphins, he's getting booked 100%. He was playing so shitty, and then all of a sudden Terry Rozier gets booked. Motherfuckers, Dolphins go crazy. Think about it. Think about it, bro. Come on. Dolphins would have never beat the Bills if Terry Rozier would have got booked.
Original post with no updates since, and I doubt we'll ever learn the truth. Dog operation.
What?
On the 31st of March, Reddit user City, State posted a disturbing entry on the Reddit Bureau of Investigation subreddit. The title of the entry was, "What could have been the reason why someone operated on my dog?"
What do you mean?
It read,
"What'd they do?"
I originally posted this to another sub, now deleted, and was insisted that I repost this here instead. I live alone in a suburban area, and when I go out, whether it's for work, social gatherings, shopping, or whatever, I leave my dog, he's a Labrador, to play in my backyard with plenty of food and water. He's a pretty healthy dog, normal weight, and had nothing wrong with him. I would say I live in a pretty safe neighborhood and never had anything bad happen to my dog while I was away. Yesterday, I came back home from work in shock to see that my dog had been stitched up.
What?
In shock, I immediately rushed to him, called and took him to a vet. I visited the vet for checkups, so the vet knows him. Strangely, the doctor who was inspecting him said that whoever was operating on him actually did a pretty good job, and for whatever reason, took out part of his fat. The wounds are of both his lower and upper belly. Pictures here.
Who are your
Luckily,
neighbors?
He isn't in any danger, but the doctor said he would be in some pain for some weeks. Normal for wounds. I was prescribed painkillers and antibiotics for my dog. I was also given a cone for him to wear so he wouldn't lick his wounds. Naturally, I asked him if a Labrador came into the vet today, as in yesterday, and he and the receptionist said no, and they said to their memory it's the first time they saw my dog that day. So this got me and my doctor thinking, either someone operated on him or someone took him to another vet and got him operated for whatever reason.
Bro, how would someone take your dog, bro? Someone hopped your fence and took your dog, bro? Someone broke into your crib and took your dog and just to operate on him? Bro, come on, bro. Think about this shit. This doesn't even make no fucking sense.
In the meantime, I have reported this to the police and have called other vets around my town and no luck as of yet. Due to this, I am still unsure what could have caused this. Who and why would someone take parts of fat out of my dog? I don't have any enemies nor any past relationship partners come to mind who may do this. I've also spoken to some neighbors and they said they didn't notice anything strange around the neighborhood or near my house. I also don't have any cameras. People on Reddit quickly began speculating on what could have happened. Some wondered if this was the work of a medical student looking to practice or a budding serial killer. However, neither of these makes much sense. No sane medical student would risk ruining their career by operating on a random dog when there are safer options like ethically sourced cadavers. As for the potential serial killer theory, why would they cut open a dog only to stitch it back and return it to the owner instead of just disposing of the body?
Yeah, like what the fuck?
But there were some more reasonable theories as well, stating that the dog must have injured its stomach while jumping over the fence.
People come to us and their teeth are so bad that they all need to be extracted. They all need to be taken out and they need to get brand new teeth.
Someone then saw the—
Oh my god, bro. I'm sorry if that was a jump scare to y'all, bro. Holy shit. But bro, who the fuck is operating on a random dog, bro? There's gotta be some like random little Jeffrey Dahmer, little Dexter wannabe, bro. Like think about it, bro. What the fuck?
Wounded dog and took it to the vet for treatment before leaving it back in OP's yard. Or maybe the dog successfully jumped over the fence only to get hit by a car, and the person driving the car took it to the vet and dropped it off after the operation. However, a major flaw in both theories is why the person who took it to the vet didn't leave a note explaining the situation. If it was an accident, maybe the person didn't want to get in trouble. But even then, leaving an anonymous note would have been the right thing to do.
He gotta lock his doors,
some users also
keep
consider
his
the
dog
possibility
away.
that someone might have shot the dog with a pellet gun, either by accident or on purpose.
What?
A comment from user Banana Phone quickly rose to the top as it offered a more plausible explanation for what might have happened during the OP's absence. That rubber thing sticking out appears to be a Penrose drain, which is most commonly used to allow a wound to weep and drain through the hole where it comes out of the skin, which prevents the skin from closing into a pocket and turning into a huge infected abscess, which requires secondary treatment and antibiotics. This is most commonly seen in my personal professional experience after bites from another animal, as the bacteria in dog/cat mouths can be difficult to totally disinfect after the fact and often leads to abscesses. While the general consensus is that dog mouths are cleaner than cats, there's still plenty of bacteria in your average dog's mouth that could lead to infection. That drain will need to be removed in a few days to a week after the risk of infection is passed. My guess would be, with the size of the incision, another dog got into a fight with yours, whether it jumped the fence into your backyard and picked the fight itself, or somehow your dog was accidentally able to be out of his fence, and the owner felt guilty but did not want to get sued or put their dog down. I double this hypothesis because if they put him back, they knew where he lives, and that means he was probably inside the fence when the incident occurred, and hiding the conflict probably means his dog has a history of aggression, to the point where it jumped your fence and attacked. I suspect a pellet/gunshot less because anyone who would shoot a dog in its own yard is probably not going to have the moral compass to get it treated. Another user,
bro, that could be an ethical. Ooh! Yo, see, bro, every video I be doing new words, new vocabulary, every fucking video, bro. Get that shit ready, bro. What did I say? Fuck, I forget. Fuck, I forget what I said. But bro, oh, ethical. That sounded like a very ethical reason. Clap it up, bro. Clap it up, bro.
And writer also backed this theory with a personal anecdote reading, I'm almost 100% sure someone who has a dog with a bite history attacked your dog and they did not want to get caught. I have a dog with a bite history. If he bit someone or an animal a second time, it would be disastrous, and myself and my partner would both be in jail. They likely got off with a small charge the first time and are on probation, already paying out a ton of money to whoever was the
You could go to jail if your dog attacks someone? Are you serious? Have your dogs ever attacked someone, bro? My dogs have never attacked someone. Bro, I have a couple American bullies, bro, and I take them out, and my neighbors get so scared, bro. But bro, they're the friendliest dogs ever, bro. They just want to chill. You feel me? My dogs just want to chill, bro. They get so scared, bro, so scared. And I don't understand, bro.
first victim.
They see our dogs, bro. Go the other direction, bro. For no reason. Makes no sense.
And cannot risk a second person suing them. We've been going through the process for our one
never
dog bite for
attacked
over
one
2
person,
years.
bro. They're
It has
trained.
been miserable every single step of the way, and I'm sure that's what has happened here.
Unless you're
I'm
an
sorry,
intruder
it
coming to
sucks
my
so
crib,
much.
you're gonna get
Hopefully
fucked
they
up.
feel guilty
100%.
and come forward to you one day. In which case, you have 2 years from the day of the incident to sue them in a civil court case. I know this because I'm on the other side of that civil lawsuit as we speak.
Damn.
That said, after further questioning from
So
other
this-
users,
so that's
the
what
OP
probably
shared additional
happened.
details about the
That's
situation.
what probably happened, bro. This motherfucker's dog hopped the fence, attacked that dog, and this bull hopped the fence, grabbed his dog, and said, "Oh my fucking god." Does that even sound fucking reasonable, bro? I don't know. Because now I'm thinking about it, that's too much shit to, you know? I don't know if that happened. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys
Debunking
think?
many of these theories in the process.
250 years ago, a promise was made. How he delivers changed.
What was the
but
promise
our purpose
made?
hasn't.
What
It's
the fuck
peace
was
of
the
mind
promise?
knowing your love arrives.
Edit. People have been asking about my fencing. I'm about 5'8", and the main fencing is taller than me.
Okay.
The side fence is about half my height.
Well, that's a nice little
However,
fence. Okay,
there
it
are other
looks like
properties
someone
around
made
those
it. Nice
fencing.
little- you made that shit
So if
yourself?
another dog,
Nice,
for example,
nice.
got in, I
Blue
would think the
collar.
neighbors would have noticed, as the other dog
My
would have needed to
man
go
is
through
red.
their properties first before reaching mine. People also are asking if my dog is known for jumping over stuff. No, he's not. So that's why I don't think he hurt himself while jumping over the fence. But that doesn't mean another dog jumped over to him. One of my
Yeah, that's a
neighbors,
big-ass
right next to the
fence.
one of my shorter fence, has a dog of his own. But it's a small poodle, and I don't think they could have done that to a Labrador. Plus, neither of them has shown aggression to each other, from what I've seen. They
So we
usually
got
don't even
little
pay each
Jeffrey
other
Dahmer.
mind. No other organs are missing,
On the
according to the
loose
vet, just the fat
in that
removal.
bull's neighborhood.
It was not a car crash. He has no bones broken,
Bro.
bruises, or anything like that.
Bro,
there
please
was
lock
blood,
your
but only
doors, bro.
around him, normal amount, not anything crazy. So either someone did it and cleaned it, or it was done elsewhere. The picture was taken the day after the vet, the day I made this post, after they examined and gave him a proper clean around the wounds. At least one of
I'm
my
sorry if you
neighbors in
guys
the
are eating
surrounding
right now.
fencing
You
has a
guys saw
camera,
that.
to my knowledge. The footage has been examined by the police and myself, and we couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. The police said they will be going around to see for any other footage. However, with this additional information, the OP mentioned something that made many people question whether any of this was real to begin with. They mentioned that they were gone out for work from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for 5 hours, which is not typically enough time for someone to take their dog to a vet, get a complete surgery, and drop it back without getting caught. As one user pointed out, this whole thing strikes me as suspicious.
It does, it does,
I've
it
worked
really
in
does.
both private practice and ER.
Oh, have you?
OP said they were
Nice.
gone for 5 hours. Even if it happened right when they left, 5 hours is a really short amount of time for this
serious.
size of wound repair when you factor in anesthesia, sedation, clipping, cleaning. Sometimes takes longer than the actual suturing to remove hair, debris, dirt, etc. Then flushing and cleaning the wounds, cutting the skin to remove sections that wouldn't heal well, then actually suturing it, including
So we
drains,
got a skinwalker on the
post-anesthesia
loose.
/ sedation recovery. White dogs plus a bunch of blood requires a bath to remove all the blood. Not to mention the time it takes to get the dog there, check the dog in, get consent for treatment, discharging and explaining meds, paying for it, getting the dog back to OP's yard.
So this
But
fool
this
did it
makes me
himself.
wonder if it could have
Someone
been done in
ran
this
up on
time
this
frame
dog,
if the
bro.
surgery wasn't done at a professional veterinary
just
hospital.
did it in his backyard,
Maybe the
playing with
person
his dog.
involved in the incident had a surgical background and did everything themselves off the books.
Why are they
However,
zooming
this is
in?
all speculation, and unfortunately, not long after this update, the OP deleted their
Oh,
account and
he
didn't
got
post
caught.
any updates on what
This
happened.
was all a lie.
But before that, the OP did make a post stating that the police were investigating this as a criminal case. However, given their complete silence over the past 4 years, it's unlikely we'll learn if anything ever came of that.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys think anything happened? Or what really happened?
Fraudulent nurse.
What does that mean?
On January 16th,
got a fake nurse on the
2021,
loose?
user Pagan Princess 22 made a Reddit post recounting her strangely terrifying experience at a hospital. The post read, "A woman posing as a nurse stole my blood from an Indiana, USA emergency room in 1996 or 1997 when I was 5 or 6 years old."
What?
Hello everyone, I'm not sure if this is the correct
First of all, what the fuck? How can you even get into a hospital? I mean, no, that's probably... It might be actually pretty easy if you have all the badges and stuff. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. I don't know if any movie ever did that. I'm trying to think of a movie that did that. I don't know. Well, it's probably way easier than I think. Because, bro, you gotta think about it. The hospital, there's thousands of employees, bro. Hundreds of employees. not every desk employee knows everyone's by face and picture by God damn it, by face and name. So she could have snuck in that shit. And it's 1990 something, bro. What the fuck? Let's really think about this. Let's see if this is real or not.
Reddit if there is one. I flared it as a cold case because it happened 23 years ago, but there were no charges filed in my recollection, and I don't remember a case being made from it. This is a strange story, and I was 5, maybe 6 when it happened, so I don't have a lot of the details. I had recently told my younger sister about this story, and she encouraged me to look into the incident more and see if I could find out either who this person was or if there was a larger pattern of behavior during the time frame. I'm interested in any information you all have to offer / can find on the matter, as I truly just want to satisfy some curiosity. I'm 99% sure any statute of limitations is up, and I'm not interested in reporting something so weird and from so long ago to the police for them to tell me there's nothing that can be done. Now onto the story. When I was around 5 or 6, I got a pretty bad nosebleed that wouldn't stop. I eventually started throwing up big clots of blood as well, and my mother took me to the ER. This would be in / around the Sunman or Indianapolis area in Indiana, USA, but I do not know the name of the hospital. Stay away from fucking this hospital. At the time, beds were separated only by curtains on ceiling racks and not individual walled rooms. My mother had left my room to speak to a doctor. I know she left, and a woman I did not know came in shortly after she left. She was white, had medium brown hair, and looked to be in her 20s or 30s. She was wearing a blue scrub shirt with puppy dogs on it and unmatched pants. I want to say she was not wearing scrub pants, but rather jeans or maybe sweatpants. I know they did not match her shirt, which stood out to me. The other nurses and doctors I saw only wore solid colored scrubs and were all matched. She said she needed to take some blood and pulled the tools to do so from her scrub pockets, not a phlebotomy card.
Parents are not
she
socially
stuck me
aware
and started
shit,
drawing
bro.
blood, somewhere around 5 to 7 vials of it, but potentially more. On the last vial, we heard my mom and a doctor coming back towards the room. She hurriedly ripped the tube from my arm before the last vial was full. It spilled some blood. She did not give me a band-aid or gauze. She just left me bleeding and shoved everything back into her pocket, then ran from the room. She ran to the left, and my mom and doctor entered from the right. The doctor said a nurse would be with me soon to draw some blood and run some tests. I told him a lady had already taken my blood, and he asked what she looked like and where she went. I described her. He turned wide-eyed to my mother and said, "She doesn't work here," and ran out of the room to the left. I heard some loud voices. There was a lot of commotion, but I don't remember anything past that point other than just feeling dizzy and I was scared that some strange woman had my blood. I've never been able to find out what happened, who this woman was, and if she was ever caught, or if this type of thing was happening across the country at the time. I have no idea. Let me know if there's any other information.
You think she was tied to the CIA?
Find out what happened to my blood. I did a typo, and to add, my mother is not a great source of information when it comes to my early life, or her life, or anything really, as she has some of her own issues.
Oh, man.
Several years ago, when I was a teenager, confirmed the details I remembered, then refused to talk further about it, and asked me not to bring it up again.
What happened?
She claims she does not remember the name of the hospital, the name of the doctor, or other details I was asking for at the time.
No, she knows exactly
what makes this story so terrifying is how real it feels. Most children are already afraid of doctors and needles, so the idea of someone posing as a nurse to steal blood is horrifying.
Bro,
one user responded with a theory stating, "Are there any chances that you are adopted?" Suggesting that the mysterious woman was OP's real mother who wanted her blood for DNA testing.
Oh my god.
And while this is still a bit out there, it could explain why OP's mother refused to give any further information.
Dude, I just got chills
that day.
Oh my god.
However, OP shot down this theory not long after it was posted with a comment reading, "I don't believe so, no. I've seen my original birth certificate and it lists my known parents as my birth parents. I also look very similar to my mom and sister."
Are you sure?
The most plausible theory came from user OSnapdragon22,
Nurse
who suggested that OP might be misremembering details that make this situation a lot more horrifying than it actually was, stating, "Nurse here, phlebotomists sometimes wear different scrubs. It seems highly unlikely that someone stole your blood and put them in tubes. Those tubes are full of various additives for different diagnostic testing. If I were to steal your blood, I would use a bag instead. Not like I would steal blood or anything, just making a point. It seems highly weird that—
Oh, hell nah. This bitch did it. Who the fuck typed that Reddit, John? We need to find that bitch, because she is weird, bro. She did it. That's her. That's her. That's her.
Tools/tubes to complete this lab draw. Many blood draws are done with equipment carried in scrub pockets, so not having a cart is not atypical. Supplies in hospitals, especially needles, are required to be locked per Joint Commission/DNV for obvious reasons. Drug users, children. Also, blood draw carts are actually an infection risk in some cases.
Are you serious?
Lastly, hospitals are extremely stranger-unfriendly. Every nurse and tech knows who's supposed to be there and who's not.
That's what I was saying in the
Even when
beginning
you're a
of
coworker
this.
that has been floated from another floor to assist, you are treated as an outsider, and many coworkers still stop and ask you what you need/what you're doing there.
Yeah,
this was most likely a flashbulb memory
come on.
instance, as you were 5 and have a childlike recollection of events, and said yourself that your family/parent is a poor historian. I hope this provides some reassurance for you. I'm not trying to diminish what you're saying, just mentioning that from my experience it seems highly implausible. P.S. A doctor saying someone doesn't work, that is also ridiculous, as doctors do rotations, don't stay on one floor permanently, and typically do not know all staff members working in a given unit at a time. Pagan Princess 22 is still fairly active on Reddit, but she hasn't posted any new information about her story. Who knows, maybe one day her mother will come clean about what she knows and we'll finally learn what happened to OP on that day.
It was... I don't know. I was gonna say some dumb shit.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code.
Damn.
Poisoned. On May of 2013, a user made a chilling confession on the Off My Chest subreddit with a disturbing title that read, "My mother has poisoned me."
What?
Ever since I became an adult about a decade ago, my mother has been against me moving out of the house.
Oh my God.
I finally got a job as a line cook 3 years ago. My mother and the
I was
rest
a
of my
line cook
family,
before,
which
man.
includes my sister and father, has been against it, mainly saying
Wasn't
that
that
such
bad.
a job cannot sustain me, which was
I was
true.
like this.
They also said I would hate working, which turned out to be false.
That was nice.
About a year and a half later, I quit due to health reasons.
Why,
The
bro?
following spring, I
What
got a new
happened,
job
big
as a
dog?
computer programmer.
Ooh,
While they seemed supportive
step
at
up in
first,
life,
my mother
nice.
and sister, who I lived with, gradually became hostile. Eventually, I moved out of the house. About a month later, I lost my job, and about 3 months later, moved back home. Everything was cool at first, but as I was getting calls from recruiters and going to job interviews, they gradually became more hostile again, accusing me of being distant and not caring for them. However, they seemed to be very controlling and hateful of the fact that I wanted to move out and wanted a decent job.
Yep.
So last month, I finally got that job as a computer programmer again, but it was out of town. I had just enough money to relocate to the new city. They became very hostile starting a few days before I left, accusing me of not loving them, of hating them. On the day before I was scheduled to leave, my mother gave me 2 of the
mom sounds like a
styrofoam
fucking
ramen noodle
cunt.
cups and tore that cardboard covering
Sorry,
that
no,
normally
sorry
comes
if
with
anyone
it and
doesn't
threw
like
it
that word,
away.
sorry.
I was suspicious that they would try to sabotage my life, so I was careful in not trying to anger
use
them.
it, but
She
it was-
gave me a
it
few
was-
more food items, which
it was
I didn't
ethical for
use
right
to
here.
take on the trip with me. When I arrived at my new city and
New word in
entered
the
my
chat.
hotel room, I
Let's go.
chilled out. I was to go to work the next day. So after the first day of work, I ate a cup of ramen noodles and felt ill. I knew that feeling because my sister fed me something that made me feel the same way in late 2011, which I then assumed was because of my recent illness. I felt weak, lightheaded, and short
my
of breath.
God.
I drank water to make me feel better because that's what I did last time that happened to me. Over the week,
Bro, his mom doesn't want him getting a job and getting bread and leaving the house. Dude. Oh my God. His mom already poisoned him one time, got him sick, and now she did it again.
my mother kept calling me, making
She
sure
did
to
it
remind
again.
me to eat my ramen noodles. I was short on cash then, waiting for my first paycheck. I never told her that I ate it. I suspected then that I had been poisoned, and after doing some Googling, believed it was cyanide. Now, that is
What's
something that you
cyanide?
should never have to think that your own mother would do that to you.
I know, that's
So I
fucked
resisted that thought because I simply could not bear to think that. So I went to cyanidetest.com and ordered a kit, and I tried it. Now, look at the graphics and the video on this page. Now, here are the results of my test. I guess I'm going to have to call the cops, and I will never speak to my family again.
Oh,
the results
shit.
exposed the truth the OP desperately didn't want to believe. He was being poisoned by his own family. Thankfully, the amount of poison in 1 cup of noodles wasn't enough to be lethal, but eating that second cup could have easily delivered a fatal dose.
No!
Luckily, he was able to escape with his
Good
life.
thing Brick
After
Bro's
reading this
aware.
post, the vast majority of people
dope.
urged OP to contact the police and stay away from his family, and that's exactly what he did. Unfortunately, the police weren't as helpful as everyone would have hoped. Update
Good thing he's out
8:45
of there.
a.m. I am currently in
be out of
Topeka,
there.
Kansas.
Yes.
I work downtown in a government office building which has a police department.
Yes.
I visited the
He's
Capitol
safe, he's
Police
safe,
Station
bro. My
here
man's
and
safe.
spoke to an officer. I showed him the evidence, and he said he could do nothing about it since the package was opened and might have been contaminated. So, does anyone have ideas?
Shit, never mind.
Had things ended here, this could have gone down as one of the most unsettling mysteries in Reddit's history. But unlike other disturbing Reddit threads, this one surprisingly had somewhat of a conclusion. You see, even though this was a throwaway account, OP returned to Reddit in October of 2013 and gave an update on his whereabouts. I was only able to file a police report, but only that so far. The police do not have enough evidence to investigate. I've gotten no contact with my family.
Nice,
I currently live in a cheap motel in Topeka, Kansas. Yesterday, after getting home from work, I work for the Kansas state government as a software developer. The lady at the front desk told me that my mother called them to speak to me. For security reasons, the motel needs both the name and room number, and my mother didn't have my room number. She didn't even attempt to call my cell phone, which makes me believe that she just wanted to know if I was staying there and where. A few months later, he posted one last comment assuring everyone of his safety. And by the way, I have moved out of state since making my last thread with this account, and am doing very well with a nice job, and am in better health.
His fucking name's poisoned
to think that this story would have taken a much darker turn if the OP hadn't grown suspicious of the food his own family gave him on his way out.
That's wild, bro. Your own family was poisoning you and making you sick, bro.
You type it in, and then you go
just because my man was getting a job, trying to change his life, bro.
Missing coworker. On the 31st of July 2020, Reddit user SoothBB made a post on the Reddit Bureau of Investigation subreddit seeking clues to help locate their missing coworker.
What happened?
The post read, "On Wednesday, July 22, a coworker of mine abruptly up and left work before the end of his shift and hasn't been seen since.
Jesus.
1 week later, a text message is received from him containing only 3 photos. Does anyone recognize the locations shown in these photos? I work at a lab that makes prescription eyeglasses in northern Ohio. Last week Wednesday, about 6 hours into our 10-hour shift, around 7:10 p.m., a coworker of mine got up from his station in a hurry, left his bag with personal belongings at his desk, iPad, Bluetooth headphones, a prescription, phone charger, a book, and a couple other knickknacks, and walked out the door and didn't return.
All your necessities?
No one's seen him since.
New word.
Some of my other coworkers thought he was just sick of the long hours and decided to quit, but that just doesn't make sense why he'd leave behind his personal belongings and not say anything.
Yeah.
We tried calling him that same night, but his phone would just ring until it went to voicemail, and by the next morning his phone was turned off. My boss said he got a hold of his mom and that she hasn't seen or heard from him, but didn't seem too concerned as she said he had a history of living somewhat of a nomadic lifestyle in his past.
What does that mean?
She thinks he may have relapsed and owed someone money or just ran off with some girl.
Damn.
Apparently they aren't very close and don't have the best relationship. I know he had a history of drug abuse, but from everything I've gathered in the 2 years that I've worked with him, he cleaned his life up after an arrest in 2014 or 2015 for drug possession and had been clean since.
Nice,
he always acted
nice.
normal around me and seemed to be living a productive life. On the subject of the pictures, a couple days ago after work, I received a group text message that was sent to me, 2 of my other coworkers, and 6 other numbers I don't recognize.
What'd they say?
It was from him and contained the 3 pictures I linked, no text. I tried calling and it rang once, then went to voicemail. When I called again, it went straight to voicemail. This whole thing has me feeling very uneasy and I don't know what to think. Does anybody here recognize the location of where these photos might have been taken? Below this was an Imgur link to these 3 pictures that OP supposedly received from their coworker. All 3 of these pictures looked like someone had taken them in a hurry, while possibly running away from someone or something. If the OP story was true, it painted a deeply alarming situation. However, most users remain skeptical, and as time passed, more evidence emerged suggesting that this might be a hoax or part of an alternate reality game. $5 says this turns out to be an ARG.
What's ARG?
For instance, one user tried to extract the embedded data in the 3 images to see if they had any GPS information, only to be met with confusion. I tried extracting the first picture's EXIF data. It says it was shot on iPhone on 7/7/2017, 13/22. It looks like the photos are in the early morning or night. Do you think the 13/22 time is right? 3 years ago also. Interesting. A few other users also pointed out significant inconsistencies in how the OP described the location, stating, "Yeah, I'm not a fan that they just said Northern Ohio. Like, is it way too broad? Same, I'm from Toledo and no one ever refers to Northern Ohio. Northwest Ohio, yes. Northern Ohio raised a flag for me too. I'm from Akron and no one says that. For us, it's Northeast Ohio." A few months later in November, SoothBB returned to Reddit with a new update, and somehow things had grown even more mysterious than they were the last time.
Is that like Cincinnati or
I
something?
wish I could say we found him or at least closed up any loose ends, but I can't. Shortly after the thread was closed by the mods, a police report was indeed filed.
Nice.
However, in mid-September, I was one of several people that were laid off from the lab we were working at, so if there were any updates on his case after that time, I'm not aware of them. I've done several searches of his name since I left the company to see if any media outlets reported on him, but I personally haven't been able to find anything.
So he's just
the
gone.
OP also attempted to deny the allegations that the whole thing was made up. Understandably, many people were suspect of my story, and I get that, but I assure you I've not made anything up, nor have I exaggerated details. I got some slack in the original post for not filing a police report.
Yeah.
I realize now that even though nobody else was willing to, I should have stepped up and done it myself. At the time, my perspective was that because I don't know this guy on a personal level outside of work, it really should be up to someone closer to him to do that.
That is true, though.
But
like
rest assured, a report was filed.
Like
some people did try to take things seriously and even pointed out the strangely timed layoff. I know this might be far-fetched, but could your former company and boss somehow be involved? The guy disappears from work, your boss tells you shouldn't worry about it, take his belongings, and refuses to access them to help find the guy.
That is
then
true.
Your boss says he filed a report, but apparently he never did, if the name doesn't come up in the databases. And finally, knowing you are investigating and possibly asking too many questions or drawing too much attention on the case, he fires you and never contacts you again about this case. I mean... However, due to the inconsistencies in Sooth BB's story, the overwhelming majority of users were convinced this was just an attempt at an ARG.
Bro.
I still think it's an ARG.
What the fuck
I
is
hope
ARG?
it's an ARG. No offense, OP. But we will likely never know for
sure.
Anyone
comment down below?
Unfortunately, shortly after posting this update, Sooth BB deleted their Reddit account, leaving us with no way to uncover the truth.
Dang. That was... Oh, dang, I didn't mean to press on it. Dude, that was fucking wild, bro. Woohoo! That was actually creepy a little. I was getting goosebumps the whole time. If y'all want more videos like this, let me know in the comments down below. I'm gonna see you in the next one.